everyone, welcome back to my channel, the #1 place for your Daz Studio needs on YouTube. And in today's video we're going to look at posing, and specifically the 4 different ways you can do posing in Daz Studio and how you can save the poses as well. So let's get to it. So here I've got my Genesis 8 male. Now this one looks a bit different because this is the development character. So you should have this already in your content library. So when you go to your content library, your smart content, sorry, and you go to figures, if you scroll down, over here we've got the development, Genesis 8 female and Genesis 8 male. These are development ones. So whenever you are trying to create poses or fit on clothing or rigging clothing or anything, always use these characters here, these development ones. When you want to export and take to another program, say Hexagon or Blender or whatever you want to do, use these ones here because they don't have any textures applied and therefore they're less memory intensive. So that's why I'm using these, because if I was going to make poses to sell in the Daz 3D store, I would use these because I want to focus on the poses. I don't want any skin textures coming in the way or anything like that. I just want to focus specifically on the pose and getting the pose correct. So that's why I'm using these here at the moment. So you should have these. If they're not in your, they're part of the Daz Studio download. So when you go into your Daz Install Manager, they should be in there. Just select those and make sure you download them, and then they will be automatically added to Daz Studio. Now, having said that, let's get into our posing. So the first thing you want to do when you're creating poses is add an artificial floor. So a great way to do this is, because at the moment, technically, if we look down here, although Daz considers this to be the floor, when we start doing our pose, whatever pose we decide, we actually need an artificial floor so we can find the proper floor. Because if when I start moving this Genesis 8 male character, there is a floor here, but it's not very well easy to see. So the best thing to do is add an artificial floor. So the best way to do that would be to go to Create, New Primitive, and you just want a plane. The size doesn't matter, and the divisions 1 is fine. So we do accept. Make sure it's Y positive and world center. So we do accept. There it is. And then I'm just going to go to my plane here in the scene tab. I'm going to go to parameters, and I just want to scale it up. So this one here, I'm just going to scale it up. It doesn't matter the size. I'm going to have it as big as I want, small as I want. It doesn't really matter. Now for us to see through this floor, artificial floor we've created, we just need to go to the surfaces and click on surfaces editor, click on the plane, and I just want to put the opacity down to about 60%. So cut out opacity, I want to put it down to around about 60. So 0.6. It doesn't have to be perfect, it could be 0.5, but 0.6 works pretty well. Let's just get it there. So when I go down with my camera, you can see through now. Now the reason why we do that is because when I move my character, go to parameters and translate. And what I'm doing actually right now is a bit wrong, but I'll show you. I'll tell you why in a bit. When I move my character through here, you'll see that the foot is going through the floor, and we don't want that when we're doing our pose. We want to make sure that our feet are just touching something like that, right on the cusp of touching the floor. You can see if I zoom in, you kind of want it touching through like this. Okay, so that's the way you would set up your artificial floor. And next thing I will do is just untick this here. So next to plane, I want to, this tick here, I just want to make it not selectable. So when I click on that, it's not selectable, so I don't accidentally select it when I'm doing my posing. Great. So just set that back to 0. Okay. Now the first thing I want to do is, this is a mistake I made as well, and I only found out about this recently, was whenever you're doing your pose, you want to start with the hip. So your whatever character you have, start with the hip. The movements you want to make should be made from the hip, and I'll show you why. So for example, if we start from the actual node, the Genesis 8 male character node here, and if I do the X rotate, just for example, I'm going to rotate, and then I want to rotate on this axis now. When I do the Y rotate, it doesn't actually rotate on the axis. All it's doing is just rotating the character like this. What I wanted the character to do was rotate around like this on that axis. So when I set this back to 0, and we go to the hip and actually use the X rotate on the hip, back, and then I go back to my Y rotate here on the actual hip, sorry, not on the hip, on the node, the actual Genesis 8 male node here, and then I rotate. Now he's rotating on that X axis. You see the difference there? That's the difference.
So what happens is, if you decide to make all your movements, adjustments using the translation tools on the actual node, you do get to a bit of problems in terms of it does get a bit confusing for somebody who's purchased your pose, or someone that's using your pose, or you're using a pose that's really old and you go back and you think, well, why isn't it working? That could be one of the main reasons, is you've made all the adjustments on the actual node when you should have done it on the hip. Okay, that's a mistake I've made. I've only recently found that out as well, and I found that to be very helpful. So always start with the hip and to do the actual translation from there. So I'm going to set this back to 0 for there. I don't want that. And I want to set the rotate back because I don't want that on this as well. Okay, so let's look at the different methods of posing. Now, the first method of posing is actually on the Daz tutorials if you go to YouTube, and it's the actual pinning and posing, the posing tutorial that they do. So I had a look at that, and actually I didn't like it very much, but I'll show you what it is. So if you want to go to that tutorial, you can, but I'll show you it right now what it is. So I go onto my tool settings here, and I click on active pose. So it's the active pose. So when I'm in active pose, what I can do is I can literally start pulling bits like this, and then the whole body will kind of adjust as well. So you can see that it's kind of adjusting there. So it's doing the twist, the bend for us. So you can see, look, these figures, these areas are moving here. So if I go back to the actual hip joint, the pelvis joint, it will start moving. Upper abdomen is moving, it's twisting a bit. And that's kind of cool. So you don't have to really worry about the twisting and bending, like or the kind of side to side movement, doing it individually. That bit I like about this active pose. That's really cool because it kind of does all of it in one. That's pretty cool there. When you start doing too much, then it does get a bit crazy. So if I start moving this arm, and then start moving this arm, the things start to get a bit hinky. As you can see, it kind of goes a bit crazy. That bit I don't like about the actual active pose kind of bit. The active pose, so things are kind of moving all over the place. What you can do is you could pin certain areas down. So if I didn't want the legs to move all, I click on the leg. I'll do toggle pins, and there's like a pin now on this section of the bone. Toggle this as well. This section of the bone is pinned down. This section here, I could pin that down. I don't want that to move. I don't want that to move. So I'm pinning things down. I don't want the foot to move at all. Pinning that down as well. I don't want this foot to move as well. Pin that. This area here, so for example, I didn't want this shoulder joint to move. I could pin that. You can also do control and then click on the specific areas. You can see it's highlighting now. So I'm control and clicking on all the areas. So I can select multiple areas and then pin those down as well. And now when I start moving this arm, what will happen is it won't move. These areas won't move. Everything else will move. As you can see, there it is. So it is useful in some situations. I personally don't use it. I don't think it's very good because I think there's a better way to do it. So that's why I don't use it. So what I'm going to do now is unpin all. I don't really like that tool. You can try it, have a look. It might be something that appeals to you. I personally don't use it, but I'm just showing you the different tools and you pick the one that's best for you. So what I want to do now is just get his pose back to normal. So edit, select that Genesis 8 male character, go to edit, figure, go to geometry and sorry, not geometry. I want to go to 0 and 0 figure pose. Let's get him back to his normal pose. There we go. And it's got rid of the actual morphs as well. Thank you very much for that, Daz Studio. I didn't want to get rid of the morphs, but okay, fair enough. We'll work with this character. That's cool. I have a problem with that whatsoever. He's lost all his muscle. So that's what happens, folks. If you don't exercise, you lose all your muscle mass and you end up like the skinny guy here. Right, so method number 2 we're going to look at is our normal bone controls. So our normal bone controls is we just click on a specific bone we want to move. So for example, this arm here. And then I would use these parameter tools here to move. So I'd use the bend to bend, twist the arm. I can use the bend here to bend it even further to different kind of bending. Twist this bit here. So now we got a rotational aspect there. We can move it front and back. So he's moving it front and back, towards, back and forward. There we go. And we can go up to the collar of that as well. And further do some more twisting if we need to. More bending if we need to. And some more front and back if we need to. So that's the other way of doing it, is you pick the individual bones and then you would go ahead and do the individual bending on those bones there. Now this obviously isn't a realistic pose, because if he's shifted to this side here, generally all this would move to the other side, so you would literally have to that would kind of, everything would twist to the side. So he would kind of move to the left a bit. This area up here would move that way, because obviously you were looking at center of gravity, and this wouldn't be a really realistic pose. So that's method number 2. You would just use the different parameters like these and click on the individual bones and then do it. This takes a little bit of practice, because obviously you need to figure out, when I bend, which way does it bend, and depending on, for example, if I twist this like this, the bending now changes. If I twist it like this, the bending now changes. So you can see whenever I move something, the actual original bending will change. Okay, so if I go back here, twist it a bit more, and then you can see now it's turning in a different way. Okay, so that's just a case of playing around with the parameters, getting used to it. It does take time. I'm not going to lie to you that it does take time to figure out how it works, and to create a pose it does take time as well. So it's something you need to sit down for half an hour, 20 minutes, and then really go through how you want to create your pose, and just play around with the different parameter sliders here. So on to method number 3, which I do like to a certain point. Let's just get rid of this pose as well. Get it back to the original. Figure 0, 0 figure. Skip Daz Studio to put it back to his normal pose, A pose I think it is. There we go. So the other one that I do like is powerpose. So I've got powerpose here. If you haven't got powerpose here, you should have it. If you haven't got it, sorry, you should go to Window, Panes, and you should see powerpose here. It should normally be on the original default layout if you haven't changed anything. I haven't really changed this layout. This layout is more or less the default layout, apart from a few things on this side here I've changed. But majority of my options are the same as you would have in your Daz Studio, so it should be available on this bottom right panel here, and there should be a powerpose tab here. So powerpose is pretty cool. So you would literally, it tells you what you can do actually, is when you click on, say for example, the left forearm here, it'll say, right, if you, with the left mouse button, if I move it left and right, it will bend. So it will bend. So it's kind of doing that pose with the parameters, but doing it in a different way. And then if I do it up, it'll twist. So the main use of powerpose is to create like the poses a bit quicker. So if you wanted to get arm in a quick position without messing with the sliders, you could do that. So that's the main kind of reason to use powerpose. Now one thing powerpose is really good at is the actual, you can go into more detail. So if I just move his leg, like you could literally move it into any kind of angle. It's quite easy to move with the mouse. All I'm doing is giving the left mouse button, press the moving. This one gives us the right mouse button option. So if I right mouse button side to side, it will move it side to side. So there you go, side to side. And if I move it up and down, it will bend it. It will bend it. There you go. So I can kind of do something strange here like this. So there's my pose, which is okay. Now the best thing about powerpose is you can go into more detail. So here, if I click on the play button here, it will take me into the hands. And now I can individually go into the hands. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm not too sure. I believe that is a left hand. That is a left hand there. Sorry, right hand. This is the left hand. This is what I want. So if I click on here, I can. It'll say, look, if I move left and right, it will start grasping. There we go. It will start moving all the individual fingers. If I right click on that area, and if I go up and down, oh, it's not working for some reason. Not too sure why. Sorry, if I left click on it and go up and down, you can see that you start grasping. There you go. So it's kind of fingers are moving away as much as they can, because remember the limits are on. So I'll show you how to remove the limits in a bit. There we go, he's grasping. So that would be the equivalent of going to the parameters. So as you can see, he's highlighted all the actual areas here. Sorry, not all the areas. There it is. Yes, he has. There you go. He's highlighted all the areas. The left thumb, the left. So you can imagine going to the parameters. Actually, go into each thumb bone, each pinky bone, each ring, middle finger, index finger, thumb, and then actually doing the bend individually. That would take ages. It's quite annoying. So you can use powerpose to kind of speed up that process if you wanted a grasping kind of motion there. Or he's making like a fist now, really. He's getting a bit angry. He's getting a bit angry with me. So that's really cool as well. You can go to the individual finger bones. So if I just ungrasp that, and you can start moving them like this as well. So you don't need to go to the actual parameter sliders and do that. You're doing the same thing here in a graphical kind of way. So that's really cool. The one thing that powerpose is really good at is making expressions. These are like organic expressions, really cool that is. So if I just zoom in on his face, probably not the best thing because you can't see any facial features in terms of skin or anything like textures or anything. But if we click on the face, now we can start moving things. So we can obviously move the head up and down with the left mouse button, right and left. With the right mouse button, spend it as well. There we go. Okay, and this is the really cool bit about powerpose is the expressions here. So we've got expressions to move like the kind of brows here, up and down, in and out. It tells you here exactly what you can do with the mouse button. So for right mouse button, you'll move it in and out. There we go. So he's getting a bit angry there. Look, he's frowning there and then there. So we'll make him a bit angry, shall I? There we go. He's got a bit of a angry face there. What is this to here? These are the eyes. So I could move the eyes in one go together. If we could see the pupils and everything else, we can't see everything there. In the middle, more eyes. So I can do kind of like the eyes, the eyelids there. So we could do even more. So it's just really good for expressions if you want to play around. And all this is doing, if we went to the parameters, sorry, not the parameters, and if we went to the parameters and pose controls, you could see the pose controls. Look at the amount of changes we've made just by using the powerpose for that expression. Now imagine doing that with just these sliders. It would take forever to figure out what is what and how things would work. That's why the powerpose is a really good tool for expressions. So there's our expression. Let's make him even more annoyed there. There you go. He's got more of a frown. Again, we can use it with the face there. So he's looking a bit devious there. Devious, nefarious kind of expression there. So not too sure what that's all about. So that's what that's really good at. So especially if you want to play around the expressions, really great idea to use powerpose to do that. There we go. And within, what was that, 5 minutes, probably less than that, 2 minutes, I've got a really good expression there that probably would have taken me ages with this pose controls that I wouldn't even figure out how to use and work out individually what each slider does. So there we go, really great idea to use powerpose for that. Okay guys, while I was doing that, the actual Daz Studio crashed because the puppeteer mode went a bit crazy. So I had to restart. So what I had to do was load up my default kind of posing thumbnail. I forgot to save the thumbnail. I forgot to save the actual scene that I was working on. So I'm going to show you this scene anyway. So this is one I was working on earlier before I did the tutorial. So here we go. So basically we're working on puppeteer. So it's not here on my panel at the moment. So I need to go to Window, Panes, and Puppeteer. Go find it. There it is. And I'm just going to drag it and just put it under Tool Settings. There we go. Okay, so what I was trying to explain was Puppeteer, the way it works. So I need to just add this pose here. So I click anywhere, we're in edit mode, anywhere on this kind of grid. It doesn't really matter where you click. Here we go. And I just need to zero his pose. So I just need to go to edit, figure, zero, figure pose. Hopefully Daz Studio won't crash. Shouldn't take that long to do. There we go, cool. That's figure pose in. I'm just going to put it down here. It doesn't matter where I really put it. I can put it here. There we go. So I'm going to go to preview mode now. I'm going to click on preview mode. And then when I left click here and then move my mouse, you can see it's doing the actual animation or the transition between the poses. So this is what it would look like for him to be in that pose. There we go. And if I carry on past this point here, if you just have a look where my mouse is, don't actually look what the figure's doing. If I carry on going, Daz Studio will try to make the best guess it can as to what the actual pose would look like if I carried on going. So it would probably go something like that. So even with my left mouse button press, I know I'm off the actual screen, you can't see it, but I'm still keeping my left mouse button press and it's trying to carry on. So it does get to a point where it looks a bit unusual and weird, like this does look a bit unusual and weird. But you can see the difference here. So actually this is used for animations and not actually used for poses, but you can, this is great if you want to find a transitional pose. So say something like if I wanted something like, I mean, that's as a transitional pose, that's probably not too bad. What I would do here is fix that, so I would probably put his arms in a bit more here and this arm a bit more here to fix the transitional pose. But you can find a transitional pose, that's a really cool idea. So that's what that's used for there, really, is the transitional pose. So that's 4 ways now we've gone through. We've gone through the active pose, we've gone through the parameter sliders, so these sliders here, we've gone through the power pose, and we've gone through the puppeteer mode. So that's all well and great, but how do we actually save these? So we have a pose, it's a perfect pose, we love our pose, it's awesome. And I'll just make sure I've got to click on my character first, the actual node here of my character. Now to save it, you would go to File, Save As, Pose Preset. Now this is a mistake I was making, so let me spell ballet right, because that was a really bad spelling. Don't know why I spelled it like that. Ballet pose 2. Kind of spell pose. Okay, ballet pose 2. Click save. Right, so this is the important bit, so make sure you're paying attention. The first thing you want to do is this option here. The best thing to do is always click on this option here and go to check only and all rotations. So what's that going to do is when we expand this now, it's going to check all these parameter sliders that have been changed, that have been rotated, that have been added. So that's what that will do. So that's your kind of like your starting point, your reference point. You want to do that first. Okay, so the next thing you want to do now is to make sure you do pose controls. So you want to tick those, just in case this pose has used those pose controls. So these pose controls in posing, if it's used them, it may have or may have not. That's fine. Now here is where you can decide whether you want the head to be the actual head. So the head is, for example, if you don't want the expression on the face, if you put expression on the face and you don't want to change the expression, you just want to actually save the pose only, you would get rid of head. Okay, so you don't want the head. Okay, so what that will do is it will save the pose but won't save any expression on the head. So if you were going to use this on another character, another female character, and you wanted to keep you just want to change the pose, you don't want to change the expression, that's what you would do. Obviously, if you wanted to keep the expression as well, you would leave that ticked. Okay, that's up to you to decide. So I don't keep the expression because I just want the actual pose, so I'm going to untick this. Right, our next thing we need to do now here is if we go into the General tab and Transforms, and normally we don't need rotation here, but it should be fine. Any transforms in a General tab. So the General tab was this here. When we click General, so any rotations that are applied here, that would be saved. Generally you don't want that, so actually I'm going to untick that. We don't need that really, because all the rotations and all the translations would be done in the hip stage, which is here, the hip. Okay, the hip. I don't know why the hip's hidden there. Okay, never mind. And the third thing we want to look at is in our hip, and we go to our General. I want the translation. I want the Y translation. I want to remember that. So what will happen is that pose will be the Y translation that we did. It will make sure it's always on the floor. It won't be below the floor or too high above. It'll be exactly where it is now. So happy with the options there. I'm going to click accept, and that's saved. And when it's put it there we go. Ballet pose 2. Don't know why that's hidden. So when I restore this pose now, so actually if we're going to use another pose, it doesn't matter what it is. I'll just put this pose on. Yes, turn off limits. Okay, and if I move my pose now anywhere, if I move my character anywhere, so if I use my normal translation tools on my character node anyway, it doesn't matter where I move it. So if I just Z translate it further back, and then translate it anywhere else, doesn't matter where I translate it, and then add the ballet pose, it should theoretically be above the ground, or be exactly above the ground, and the pose should happen. Just wait for that to work itself out. Hopefully Daz Studio won't crash. Okay, and the reason why that didn't that is in the ground is because we use these translation tools here. So if that was a zero translate and zero translate, there you go, it's right above where it should be. So that's the only reason. And as you can see, even though I move the character, the pose is applied, and my character is not moving to anywhere else. Isn't going back to the 0 pose. Isn't going to the 0 location. Sorry. So anywhere where I put my character on the screen and apply the pose, it will be applied there, and it won't move. So that's what you want to make sure, is to make sure you always test your pose as well. Okay, so how do we save partial poses? So some of you might be interested in saving partial poses. So let's say I wanted to save, I don't know, I like the way this arm at the back is for whatever reason. So file, save as, pose preset like we did before. And I'm going to call this ballet arm, what's that? The left arm pose 1, which is this one here, the left. So again, I would do this here. I would click on the option here, check only rotations. So that's like a starting point, a great starting point, so you don't have to tick too many things. And again, we open this to expand this. We go to our pose controls, and I want arms, and I specifically want the left arm. So I want left arm, arms up and down left, and arms front left, arms front back left. And that's all we need from that section there, because I just want the left arm. If you wanted the hands, for example, as well, so you would go to the hands and you say, oh, I want the left hand as well, because I want the left hand pose here as well, and that would do all that as well. So it's all selected there as well. So I've got the arm, and I've got the hand as well connected to the arm. That's good. Again, general, we could leave that there if the arm was, but we don't need it, so untick it. You could leave it there, it's not going to do anything really. Actually, I'm going to leave this there to show you that it doesn't do anything. And then the next thing, we need to go to the hip, and this is where it gets a bit complicated, because you'll need to expand all these. So I don't want the pelvis, I want generals. Okay, I want to find the arms, so you need to go through the whole tree and find the arms, basically. Upper, left collar, left shoulder bend. So I want all these, so I don't want any of this here. What I want is, I just want the left collar, the left shoulder bend, and that would give me the left shoulder twist, the left forearm twist. It'll give me the left hand as well. It'll give me the hands, fingers as well, thumbs, all those. And that looks pretty good. So obviously, when you do partial poses, it's a bit more complicated. You have to delve through the actual bone structure, and then really find the one you're looking for. I think that's correct. Hip bone. And then don't worry about these. This just means when it's highlighted like this, where yellow means right, it's saving all this, but because the left collar is connected to the upper, chest upper lower, and abdomen upper lower, it's ticked those as well. But it hasn't selected anything in terms of any more than it needs to. So because it's all part of that, I think that looks good. So I'm going to accept that. So what I'm going to do now is just move this arm. We'll just move it somewhere just to get. There we go. If we just move it anywhere, something like that, that's fine. So when I add this pose now, I've got to click on my figure here first. Ballet left arm pose. The pose should go back to his original position. There we go. So there's my partial pose saved for my left arm. All this area is saved here, and it's exactly the way it should be before. And last but not least, those of you who don't want to know how to save expressions, let's do that as well. There's not much of expression on here, but we'll show you how to save it anyway. So again, my character highlighted here. I've selected them. I'm going to go to File, Save As, Pose Preset, and I'm just going to call it Expression 1. Save. Again, start with this section here, this tool here, this menu here. Sorry, check only all rotations. and just expand this. So now pose controls, we would go down and we would choose head. So these are all the pose I may use, to the expression and everything that you have used. That's fairly straightforward. In general here, we will want to remove all this, so we don't want any rotations. We don't want any rotations. All we're doing is saving the actual pose. So we just want the actual facial expression that we're concerned with. We're not concerned about any head movements or anything like that. We just want the actual pose, the actual expression. That's what we're trying to save. So that's why we've unticked this for general. And now we need to go through the tree structure again. Don't want the power base. And we need to find the head. So chest upper, neck lower, neck upper. Here's the head. So I'm going to just deselect everything and then select the head, and then Daz Studio will pick all the options for me here. There we go. So this is all part of the structure. So we need to have the neck upper and lower obviously selected, and all these areas, but the actual bits that will be saved are these yellow sections here. So I've got that. So when I go into general, I don't want this saved. I don't know why this is always added. Actually, I can leave that there. This, you probably won't have this option. This is just a Genesis state female that I have, and you get the option for it, so I don't need that, to be fair. And in general here, again, transforms, we don't want any of these. I want to untick them. So I don't want any rotation. I don't want any translation of any kind of its of the head. I just want the actual facial expression. So that's what we're trying to save. And that looks good to me. The pose controls here is already set, which is great. So that looks good. So we've got our head all selected there. I've unticked the general. I don't want any translation. You might not have this, so I've unticked that anyway. That shouldn't be there because that's just a Genesis 8 female character that I have. And then in pose control at the bottom, we go to head and make sure that's all ticked as well. And then do accept. And the way we can check this is if I apply an expression right now, if I just go to my smart content, just apply a basic expression, whatever it is, that will do. There we go. And if I go back to my preset pose and then my expression 1, it should just change the expression back to normal. So there we go, that's that expression back to normal the way it was. So that's how you save your expressions. One thing I forgot to do now, which I'm going to go through very quickly, is how do you get rid of the limits. And the way you do that is if we're working at the hip bone, remember, we go to this cog here, we go to parameter settings and use limits here. It would normally be ticked. You would untick that and do accept. And then the way you would know that the actual parameter slider, it has no limits on, is if you have a look at this slider here, it's different to the way this one looks. So this slider, when you see a slider like this with a circle, with the oval, that means it has no limits. It can go on forever and ever and ever. See, it will keep going forever and ever. This one here, this one has a limit. So if I go all the way to the right, that's the limit. There it is. I can't go anymore. So that will give you indication of what, when the parameter slider, which one has a limit already and which one doesn't have a limit. So remember, oval means there's no limit, so you can go forever. And when it's like this, like kind of like an oval, or not oval shape, so like the circle shape, when this is like this rectangle kind of shape, you know there's a limit on this slider, so you can take it off. Okay, so I hope that's helped. Have a go at posing. It's not very as difficult as it is. It's just time consuming. Anybody can do this. If I can do it, you can do it.
So there you go. Now you know the 4 different methods on how to create poses in Daz Studio. You've got active pose, you've got the parameter sliders, you've got the power pose, and you've got the puppeteer mode as well. And you've also learned how to save your poses correctly as well. Now if you found value in this video, give it a thumbs up, most appreciated. If you have any comments or questions or anything else you want me to cover in Daz Studio, leave them down below as well. And for those of you that are subscribed as well, thank you very much. And those of you who haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It helps the channel out a lot, very, very much. And in next week's video, we'll be covering portrait lighting. So that's something cool. Watch out for that. And I'll see you in next week's video.